Welcome to another Incubate show. My name is Bassel Zoueiter, regulated Canadian immigration consultant. Today we're going to talk about the PNP programs, or the Provincial Nominee Programs. Every province in Canada has the right to select their own candidates that want to immigrate to and move to their province, and they set up their own requirements for that specific immigration program. And then later on, once they have been selected by the province, or they call it nominated by the province, the immigrant continues their process with the Immigration Office, or CIC, to receive their permanent residency in Canada. In today's show, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about questions and answers. So we're getting a lot of emails, lots of calls from our clients, and they're asking us questions about the PNP programs. They have specific requirements that they want to see if they qualify for or not. They're hearing things in the market or feedback they're receiving from others, and they just want to clarify some of these questions. So we will go over the most common question that we have been asked when it comes to various PNP programs, and then we'll summarize them as much as possible to be able to cover more questions through our program. So the first question that we have received is, what is the difference between business ownership experience and management experience? When it comes to business ownership, you are an owner of a business, you operate that business, and you're involved in the daily operations. So you're not just an investor, as in through your money or through your investment, you have acquired a business, and then the business manages itself or runs itself without your involvement, or you have somebody that you hired to manage that business on your behalf. That does not qualify as business ownership experience. You have to demonstrate your ability to manage and operate a business through your experience in doing such a thing in a business that you have owned previously, or something that you've done in the past. So business ownership experience is based on you managing your own business and being involved in the active management aspect of it. Management experience is different. You're a senior manager, you have staff that report to you, 3, 10, 50, 100. You have management responsibilities or senior responsibilities in terms of driving sales in a business, marketing, operations, whatever it is, and it comes to driving a specific business. While you don't own that business, still, you are a decision maker in the business, and you're assisting them into achieving whatever objectives that they have. So management experience, business is not yours. Business ownership experience, business is yours, but you're involved in the daily operation. You cannot be an inactive investor. Second question we received, does my company have to be active, and do I need to have recent business ownership experience? Here, it varies from province to province. Majority of the provinces, they say you need to have that experience in the past 5 to 10 years. Every province sets up their own requirements. But the most important thing is you have to show that you have been active in the business. You cannot be an inactive investor. You cannot just be you can have stocks or whatever it is, and you don't manage it. You have somebody else doing it on your behalf. You need to be involved in the business and running and operating it from a day-to-day operations. Third question we received is, how do I prove my business ownership experience? Well, here, it depends on the country that you're going to be immigrating from. You need to look at your local laws and what is the availability of the documents or paperwork that you can produce to prove that. For an example, your trade license or your business license to prove that you have been active for a certain amount of years. Some countries you can get something called a good standing certificate. Means as of today, they have met all your government obligations for your business to be able to be considered in good status. They can also produce bank statements to show the operations or the transactions that took place in the business as you both owned and operated it. Contracts from invoices or contracts or invoices for customers that you've worked with, partners you've worked with, subcontractors, or whatever it is. So you need to demonstrate that your business is active, your business is not a fake company or a shell company, just on the outside looks like a real company, from the inside there are no transactions taking place. So you need to show that business continuity, you need to show your involvement in that business. How did you contribute to that business? Yes, you do own it, but were you involved in the day-to-day operations? So you also need to produce specific documents that can show your involvement in the business. Next question we got asked is, are the PNP or the Provincial Nominee Programs for immigration through investment all the same? The question is no. Every province has their own requirements. Now, there are some common things between all these programs. For example, active management is key. So you have to actively manage the business whenever you immigrate, and then every province decides how many years they want you to do that for, or even when it comes to your previous experience, how many years of experience you need to have. So not all the PNP programs are the same. Even the investment amounts and the net worth per province changes or varies from one location to another. The age requirements, the educational requirements, or even the English or French language command requirements will vary from province to province. Some are more relaxed and they don't care about certain things, and then others are more strict just because there's more demand on that specific location or that specific province. So you can actually look into the other shows that we have specific for each one of the PNP programs to better understand the differences and get to the details of each program to see which one suits you best in terms of the program you want to invest in and the kind of business that you want to set up. So the next question is, so what is the difference between immigration through investment programs and immigration through entrepreneurship program? This is a very interesting question. The key difference between investment through immigration, immigration through investment and immigration through business or entrepreneurship is active management, or being able to demonstrate your ability to manage a business. In immigration through investment, you're an inactive investor. You give your money to somebody, that somebody will go ahead, manage your operation, run it, do everything on your behalf. Inactive investment. Active management is what business ownership or entrepreneur is all about. So here, you set up the business, you implement the business, you proceed with the business until you meet your immigration obligations. That's what entrepreneurship is, or active management investing is. So inactive management or inactive investment or indirect investment versus active management, daily operations perspective when it comes to the investment that you're going to put in. Next question we got asked is, do I have to be involved in the daily operations of the new business and actively manage it? Absolutely. Regardless of what province you're going to be investing in, whatever entrepreneurship program you're going to go in, you have to actively manage the business. The key is you are a business owner. You're not an inactive investor. You come in and you put in your business into an active operations, day-to-day management of that business. Next question we got asked, is it true that Manitoba investment program is only 100,000 Canadian dollars in terms of the investment? That's not true. It's a misconception. It's a misguided advice that some of our clients have received from other sources, and it is not true. The Manitoba program is $150,000 Canadian investment program, not 100,000. The government says, or the provincial government says, you invest 150,000, and at the same time, you have to put in a deposit for 100,000. After you meet your investment obligations, you can go ahead and get your 100,000 deposit back. The issue is the advice or the misguided advice that some clients are receiving is these immigration companies are coming in and say, yeah, don't worry about it. We'll give you the business plan. You come in, you go to Canada, get your permanent residency. Don't implement the business. Put in your deposit, and then you lose the $100,000 deposit. That's unethical, and you are cheating the province, and that could get you into trouble. So to clarify, Manitoba is $150,000 investment into a business In addition to it, you have to put in a deposit for 100,000 Canadian dollars, which you'll receive 2 years later. Next question. What are the age requirements for myself, my spouse, and my children to be included in the application? For yourself, it depends on the province. Some provinces, there are no restrictions when it comes to age. Some provinces, they do restrict that. Usually it's between 21 to 54, sometimes up to 59, if they're going to restrict it. If they're not going to restrict it, then your age is irrelevant when it comes to the qualification of that program. Your spouse, there are no age restrictions or limitations for your spouse when you apply for him or her as you come into a PNP program. Children, this is a federal law, so the age of the children in Canada is 19. So for a child to be considered as a dependent child, their age has to be 19 or under, and they have to be unmarried. So to recap the age for yourself, majority of the PNP programs don't restrict you when it comes to age. If they do, you have to be between the age of 21 to 54 to 59. Spouse, no restrictions when it comes to that age. Children, 19 and below or under, and they have to be unmarried to be considered dependent children. Next question we got asked. Can my spouse work and my children study while I am undergoing the process of investment? It's an excellent question. So here there are two different buckets of PNP programs. There are work permit based PNP programs, and there are PR or permanent residency PNP programs. If you're going to go into the PNP programs that allow you to have permanent residency since day one, that means yourself, your spouse, and all your children are going to be considered permanent residents since day one. So definitely your spouse can work, and definitely your children can study because they're permanent residents. They have the same status as any other Canadian. Go into any university, go into any high school, and your wife can work or your husband can work anywhere because they're all permanent residents. If you go into the PNP programs that are based on a work permit, then that's different. Work permit, that means you, the principal applicant, or the investor, that you're going to come in under this specific program. Your spouse will be able to receive an open work permit that allows him or her to work anywhere in Canada at any employer with no restrictions. Your children can receive study permits to be able to study in a high school or any university or college based on the locations where you're going to be. So step one of that PNP program group, you become an investor and you receive a work permit. Your spouse gets an open work permit, and your children receive study permits. Later on, once you achieve all your immigration obligations, you, your spouse, and your children will all at the same time receive your permanent residency, and then you continue your path to citizenship in Canada. The next question that we've received is, how long does the entire process take until I receive my permanent residency? Well, that really depends on which province you're going to go into. Is it a work permit process, a PR process, or permanent residency process, and also the kind of investment you got to coming into. But in general, as a rule of thumb, it could take 6 months to 1 year for you to be able to complete all the paperwork and the expression of interest and the application process to either receive a work permit or a permanent residency. And later on, the Canadian government says if you do have a work permit and you have been nominated by the province and then you received your certificate from the province, then you can apply for permanent residency and receive it in less than 6 months. The gap in between is your obligation to the PNP program. That's the part where it varies from one place to another. Sometimes it's just 6 months, sometimes it's 18 months, and it goes up to 2 years. So if you go into a work permit-based program, you're coming in the beginning around 6 months until you get your work permit. Then you stay in your work permit anywhere from 6 months up to 18 months or 2 years based on the requirements of the province. Then you apply for permanent residency, which takes around 6 months, and then you become a permanent resident. So you're looking at anywhere from 2 years to 3 years for you to receive your permanent residency through a work permit-based PNP program. If you go to a PNP program, well, that's different. That means you immediately become a permanent resident the second you come into Canada, meaning you need to satisfy all the requirements when it comes to the application, which could potentially take 6 months to 1 year, if the PNP program is an expression of interest based versus a direct permanent residency application based program, and off you go. So here you cut your time to 6 months to 1 year. So it's up to you which program or which PNP program you want to come into, whether it is work permit and PR, and then the length of that process will vary from one program to another. Hope these questions address a lot of the concerns that you might have, some of the questions that you have asked us or asked other people before. We will have other questions that we will go over when it comes to the PNP entrepreneurship programs, and then we hope that you will continue sending us your questions, which will benefit other applicants as they make their selection to immigrate to Canada and pick a PNP program. Thank you.